Welcome to Learn to Lead Differently. I'm Amy Sgrignoli. This is our format that I like to think of as actionable takeaways. This is where I get to debrief with all of you my main takeaways from episodes. This is my first one that I'm putting together, and I wanted to take a moment to reflect on the past two episodes that we just released. And what's really interesting about those two episodes is that they were both with young and emerging leaders. So the last two episodes that we released, they were Christine and Ish, who are both personal trainers and coaches. And then Katie, who has just graduated from college and really realized almost immediately upon graduation that what she wanted to pursue might not be what her degree was in. When I think about these two episodes and the guests on the show, I think what is so impactful to me and what I really took away from in interviewing them was the incredible amount of wisdom and, frankly, maturity that these young leaders were already showing. And I started to think about how important it is that we don't link leadership with seniority. And what I mean is that they brought such interesting and unique perspectives to our conversations that I really started to think about as a senior leader. Am I really looking for and intentionally reaching out to those young and emerging leaders in my organization and asking for their perspective, and asking for the way that they would do something? Because what I found in talking to Ish and Christine and Katie is that they really, while they're early in their career, they are so thoughtful about the journey that they're on and where they're going. So I think this was a big reminder to me to not equate leadership with seniority. And I really challenge all of you to be intentional about asking for those perspectives of everybody in your organization and really asking for them to be honest about how they're thinking about things. I think the next thing that really came to light for me was this idea that you're going to need to sit in a little bit of discomfort, um, and that life is going to pose some challenges. And as a leader, what I took away from that was we often think that in leadership positions, whether it's in our jobs or frankly as parents or different things, we think that it is our job to provide direction and to tell people in some ways how to do things and what to do. And what I heard every one of them say was that that is the opposite of what they are looking for. They are looking for the senior leaders, the people that they trust in the room, to be there to support them, to be there to listen to them. So they want to feel seen, they want to feel heard, they want to feel supported, but they don't want us to tell them what to do or to fix things for them. And I think that actually brings, if I'm being honest, that brings a little discomfort to me as a leader, because you get to a certain point where you think, well, my job is I've been there. I can guide you on what not to do or what to do. And I think what I heard from these young people is they need to still go on that journey themselves, and they want to feel supported in doing it. And they know and are prepared for things to sometimes not go the right way. And what they're looking for at that moment is continued support and not judgment. So I think that's really reframing our roles. Of course, we can bring a certain amount of expertise to space and a certain amount of guidance, but guidance is very different than providing specific direction. And I think sometimes we minimize how important the role of support is and what does support actually look like. And the other thing they brought up was how important it is for them to be challenged. Um, but that challenge with support is how people grow. Being given very difficult challenges without support is how people can fail. And that's really the difference between also discomfort and growth through discomfort versus pain and potentially failure. And then finally, if we don't bring that challenge at all, and we don't support them, that's how people really just see no movement. They can just be very, very stagnant. So one of the things I reflected on and want to, us to think about as leaders is, are we providing that right balance of challenge and support? I think the third thing I want everybody to take away, and what I certainly took away from my conversations with Katie, Ish, and Christine, was this willingness of the younger generation to be more open to taking pivots and making changes. And I think we often talk about Gen Z and they can get a bad rap, and we say they lack perseverance or they don't, take the time to do what it takes to get to certain places. And while I think there could be some truth in that, I think what I took away from these conversations is maybe there's a lesson to those of us that are further on in our career, that maybe we were taught that you had to stay in a bad situation longer than you should. And maybe we were taught that we just had to persevere even when our bodies and our minds told us we were in the wrong place. And that showed me that this generation has a real bravery in some ways that that is different than those of us that are older. And I think we need to embrace that. When Katie talks about recognizing very early that if she went into the career she got her degree in, she could already see herself being burnt out almost immediately. That willingness to say, I'm going to make a change now. And that's not where I want my life to be in 20 years. That really sat with me. I think we see oftentimes, certainly, I see it a lot. People older in their career can be, at a point where they say, how have I gotten here? I'm not happy. I'm not content. And I wonder, after having these conversations, if some of it comes from the fact that maybe um, we were persevering too much. So what's that balance again? Where of course perseverance is an important skill, but we also need to listen to ourselves. And sometimes maybe we shouldn't be trying to persevere through things that we know deeply are the wrong moves for us, the wrong steps for us. And I thought that was just really exciting to see these young leaders open to not having all the answers and open to saying, okay, I thought one thing, now I'm going to try something else. And I really think that there's a way we can honor that in our young leaders, and rather than see it as maybe something that is frustrating, see it as how can we come together um, and learn from each other. There is something to be said about learning to persevere sometimes, but there's also something that we can learn from them about, it is okay to make a change, even when that change maybe feels scary. Um, so I thought that was just such an interesting theme that I saw through all of the conversations. And for me, I came away from both of the interviews actually so excited about the next generation of leadership that we're now bringing in and what they can bring to the table. Um, and I think that should be exciting to us all. The final thing that I think was so meaningful to me in these conversations was that none of us are supposed to be doing this alone. And what you found in these conversations was each one of them was able to name a person or people that had been material in their growth as a person and their willingness to take these challenges, to make these pivots, to do things that they thought maybe they weren't capable of. And so that for me reminded me that our role as a leader too is to be that person for those people that we're bringing into our organization, those people that we're working with in our lives. What do we see in them? And how can we be that person that they're going to be talking about for years to come, that they will say, that relationship that I had, that mentor that I had, made me realize that I was capable of doing things I didn't even know I was. Um, and then I think in turn, what you see them do is they already are trying to be that person for other people in their lives. So I think it just brings us back to the theme of community and how important it is that we do this journey of life and leadership and all of these things together, and that none of this is meant to be done as a solo mission. So I hope you really enjoyed the episodes as much as I enjoyed getting to have the conversations with Ish and Christine and Katie. And I'd love to actually hear from all of you if you had additional takeaways from what I did. And I guess what I'd like to leave you with is just a challenge to say, I hope these conversations make you think about your role wherever you are in your leadership journey, in whatever career you're in, and think about what you heard from them and what you might be able to do differently in your approach, in your leadership style that can help cultivate all of those amazing things and experiences that Ish and Christine and Katie were talking about. So thank you so much for joining, and I will start doing these ideally after each episode or couple of episodes to really share with you what my main takeaways are, and I hope that you have some good takeaways as well.